Happy New Year to you all. Welcome to the first Good Morning Walk of 2024. And for those of you who are early, of course we haven't got anyone here at the moment, but for those of you who watch back, we've got a nice early morning pony for you all. But no, we shall just sit and wait for the moment for you all to arrive. I have realised this is the first time in quite a while that we've started this early. So, Kath OG, good morning to you. Like I say, welcome. Blue Badger, good morning to you. Michelle Warner, morning to you. Hope it's not flooded where you are. It is and it isn't. Like I say, we will be taking a different route this morning because there is a bit of flooding where we are, but it's not, like I say, that too bad. Like I say, in Barnsley, where we are at the moment, as you can see, we are in quite a very hilly area. But Helen, good morning to you. Cavalan, good morning to you. And yes, very true. Come on in. Sit down, click the like button, click the share button. Share it on Twitter, share it on Threads. Share it on all your, social medias if you can. That will be very, very helpful. Like I say, we'll get in and we'll start the new year off right. And oh dear. oh dear. I can already see a problem. Oh no. Is it the cow? Is it the horse? I can't tell at the moment. It's too far away. But it's already in front of the gate. So getting through, always going to be a good problem. But no, it is very, very muddy this morning. So I do apologise if I don't pay attention too much to the screen or I miss something. Because, like I say, I'm trying to keep upright. So it is very, very muddy as we now go down to the fields. But yes, of course, the cows. Good morning. And of course, one is in the exact way of where I want to go. Oh. There he is. And there are the others. And of course, there's a pony in the way as well. Anyway. Good morning. My friends, how are we going to get through here? I think, to be honest, this cow just let me through. He says famous last words. The words you need to walk on. Walk on, cows. Come on, walk on. He's not shifting. Raise your arms. Walk on. Walk on. Come on. Walk on. No, it's just... literally, walk on. No, he's not interested. He's just looking at me. He's just looking at me very, very gone out. James O'Brien was talking to people who are affected by flooding. It's very often when it happens. Yeah, it is. They say a couple of years ago now, it happened very, very severely where I live. But it hasn't happened like that since. Since then, which obviously has been quite good, but obviously, when it does happen, it can be sort of quite devastating, and take a long time for your home to sort of recover from that, unfortunately. So yeah, I do agree, it is very, very devastating when it happens. It worked on your family farm well. Clearly these cows have not been trained to your family standards. Anyway, we are going to have to sort of push on, I think, because it is 'tis time, and see where we go from here. Now, we need to get around you, but the big question is, are you going to let me through? I think you might. I think you're good enough. But the other problem is we've now got a pony blocking that way as well. Right then. Are we going to motor on? I think we shall. This cow being very, very docile. Like I say, I just don't want it to kick me. Although I don't know if cows kick, but also, you know, shall we say, I also don't want to be in the splash zone, so his tail suddenly decides to raise up while I'm trying to get through. How to move on? Come on, walk on, walk on, walk on. Nope. Oh well, come on then. We shall go this way then. We shall go this way. We shall see what happens. Could make getting back very interesting. Whistle while you do. Oh. Anyway, let us then begin, of course, and as I said before, good morning, good morning, good morning. I do apologise if I missed anything in the chat this today, because, well, as I said, oh dear, oh dear, oh nearly, because something like that will happen. We just completely sunk into the mud there. Only on the good morning walk do I threaten you with a good time of me falling in the mud. But yes, welcome one and all, of course, to the. Did I do the first good morning walk last week? I can't remember now. But anyway, regardless or not, happy New Year to you all. And yes, welcome to 2024, which, as a lot of people have said, promises to be a very interesting year. Because obviously it's going to be an election year. I think everyone has really realised that now. Last year, of course, you know, this time last year I said, well, you know, a general election was probably quite likely. And at the time it did look like that. You've also got to remember this time last year, Windsor Protocol was gearing up to be passed. It was announced something was happening. And that gave me... Oh, pretty bird, and may have many interesting times, yes. May I have many interesting times indeed. So, it is probably going to be an election. Mitchell and Boo, good morning to you. It is going to be an election this year. It's just a matter of really when now. Of course, it's, you know, second half of the year, but it's still a question of when. What was that? I think Sunak would be wise to call an election in the next 2 weeks instead of doing three by-elections before the GE. Oh yes, he absolutely would. A May election, probably not. Although he might, as a lot of people have said, probably time it. If there was a May election, then we would probably get, the local election going on at the same time. But even then, as we have seen, it's not like the Tories have done well during those local elections, 3 including Skidmore. Yes, shockingly. My thought is that Sunak wants the party to push for an election early so he can save his ego and save face when they lose. Well, if I were Rishi Sunak, that's what I'd be doing as well. I would honestly be going, you know what, we're going to lose. Let's just get this over with now. Because I don't know if you knew, if you've been, following any political journalists, they've all been saying, I wish Sunak would hurry up and decide when an election's going to be, because they want to plan their year. They want to know when their busy period is, because obviously they're going to be extremely busy in the lead up to the general election, and then during the general election, of course, itself. So they want to be able to plan their year in and around that. Find out what's happening. They should do it before the Downing Street wine report is leaked. Oh, that is one report I am waiting for, the wine cellar report. That would be, should we say, very embarrassing for sure once that comes out. But it's not that report. Like I said, as we said in that video, the Tories are trying to hold back so many reports and freedom of information requests coming in as well. So it's not going to be should we say, the biggest boon to the Tories if that should come out. Bakura, you check the betting odds. Odds are the next election will be between October and December. That, to be honest, I think might be the bad idea. The hope is, of course, is that with like I say, they've lowered the income tax, not income tax, national insurance, sorry. I'm getting my taxes mixed up there. So the hope is at least that this national insurance decrease will somehow help people. But ironically, it's going to do the exact opposite, because national insurance goes towards things like people's pensions, it goes towards the NHS, goes towards benefits. Lowering national insurance is probably the worst thing you can do, because they are expressly saying at that point, and as we've said, when you lower taxes, you are saying the government is no longer going to fund certain activities. And to be honest, one of the best things Labour could do when they get in is raise national insurance. Of course, you can debate about what level they want to raise it to, but I've said for a long time now, the idea of us having low taxes in the UK is now a long gone fantasy. What really needs to happen now is we need to get governments in who just go, you know what, low tax in the UK, complete fantasy. What needs to happen is we need to have a decent level of taxes and make sure that money is, of course, spent correctly and going to projects and things, or, you know, public services, you know, that are going to have an impact on people. If you live in the Nordic countries, you pay a lot higher rate of tax than we do, but you get so much more back for it. In fact, most of Europe does that anyway. And especially one of the big things that would actually really help is raising the amount at which the state pension is as well. Because then pensioners or people who retire would go out and then they would actually, you know, spend more of their money, you know, on the economy. I know, shocking, right? And then again, benefits need to be at a level where, you know, people aren't being, you know, pushed into poverty, that, you know, they can survive. And that, you know, job centres, rather than essentially being box-ticking exercises, need to be places where people can go, and the people in the job centre need to go, rather than just ticking a box, they go, okay, what can I do to help you get into work? Or, you know, what can I do to help you to find work? That's what job centres should be. And honestly, they're not. And I know someone who does work in a job centre. And, you know, he's had so many stories. So many stories that he's told me over the years. Obviously, I can't tell them. Because some of them are quite, you know, personal, and some of them are very horrific, unfortunately. And like I say, it has an effect on him because of that. And, you know, and sometimes some of these people have gotten, shall we say, a bit violent, a bit upset, of course. But at the end of the day, it's not his fault. He's just doing, you know, his job, and it's a bit sad that unfortunately that's happened to him. But that's just the state of the UK at the moment, unfortunately. Ben Ridings, there'll be a healthy majority of people who see the tax reduction as a benefit in the short term. However, give it a few months and then the financial pain will hit again. Yep. This is it. I think it's meant to be, you know, if you are in a couple, it's meant to be like £1,000. You know, this is helping you save. And then, of course, if you're an individual, it's like 400 and something. So it's really dubious, to be honest, whether this is going to really help people. Bakura, I'm on a disability. Pardon me. I'm on a disability benefit, but I work, and now the government is making the law so that could very well scan my bank account for no reason because of it. Yeah, again, I understand the reasoning, but it is very, very far-reaching, to be honest, and that's being discussed in the law at the moment. Spixie Cat, ahoy from Holland. Ahoy hoy to you. Oh, hang on, let's get across here. And then again, benefits fraud is a really, really uncommon crime. Like, when benefit fraud happens, it's so rare. You know? It's so incredibly rare, and most of the time when it happens because there's a mistake in the system. Speaking of flooding, as you can see, normally if there's been really bad flooding, this basically just turns into a lake. So we won't motor around. But of course, speaking of fraud, have you all Did you all see the post office scandal documentary? I think it was, what is it, Mr. Bexley versus the post office, I think it was called. A very good drama, by the way. Very good drama, but it just goes to show you what that's it, Mr. Bates. That's it, Mr. Bates versus the post office. Yeah, it really went to show you what happened and just how bad that entire how bad that scandal was. It's even now we've had news, more people have come forward who also got accused of this crime, and it now looks like the police are going to investigate the post office for potential acts of perjury and perverting the course of justice. And to be honest, that needs to happen. Like I say, this entire post office scandal has been a real black mark on the post office. Tom Nilsson, good morning to you. So it's really sad that these people were put through this, and you know that they went through this, and they do need, I think, to be honest, really do need proper compensation for, you know, the fact that they were accused. You know, people committed suicide over this, over being accused, because of like the pressure that it put on them. Some people ended up in jail because of this, all because a system went wrong. But yeah, it's honestly a very, very long and bad saga. But good on, by the way, Private Eye for following this case, because it has been the only newspaper, debatable whether you could call the Private Eye a newspaper, but it does, yeah, deliver the news. You know, Private Eye has been the only organisation actually consistently covering the post office scandal, because Ian Hislop found it such an egregious, you know, abuse of power and well, blatant crime. He kept on covering it. So good on him and Private Eye for covering that. News publication, not newspaper, I'd suggest. Yeah. that is probably more accurate. that is true. That is very probably more accurate. A news publication rather than newspaper. Yeah, Blue Badger. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, the more you look into the post office scandal, the worse it becomes, honestly. And what happened to like I say, some of these people is just, it's just absolutely, you know, it's generally criminal, unfortunately, what happened to them. And they do need, as I said before, they need to make sure that, you know, they are properly compensated. Private Eye even covered the fact that, you know, the post office said to these people who it had paid compensation to, that they wouldn't have to pay tax on their claims. And of course, the post office has now done it in such a way where they have had to pay tax. Yeah, honestly, this is still very much an ongoing issue. Very, very much so. Yes, but I must warn you, as we do traditionally at this point, we are now potentially entering the Barnsley Triangle. So if you do lose connection or anything like that, please do stand by. You know, we will try and reconnect as fast as possible. In fact, tell you what, we will go round the Barnsley Triangle today. Right, we shall forge a new path around the triangle. Shall make the triangle a square. But yeah, it is a awful, horrific scandal. There's a lot of people now saying that the post office might go bankrupt because of this. Because there's a lot more people now come forward, and a lot of people saying that now they've sort of realised the extent of all this. They should be sort of paid more in many ways. It's nighttime here in the USA. Well, good evening. Hope you are sleeping well. But something else that happened as well very recently, and probably something I will do a video on, so I do apologise if you end up seeing me say this twice. But Chris Skidmore, holy moly. Holy moly, the like, okay, I don't agree with Chris Skidmore and everything, but I'll tell you what, bravo to that man for you know, leaving the government in the way that he did. Like I say, I've still got to read more on this. I'm going to try and definitely find his resignation statement, because good on him for doing so. And I think I've said this before, he's one of the very you know, few green Tories. You know, these are the Tories that really get net zero. Yeah, who'd have thought a moral Tory? And Chris Skidmore, though, you know, he was very much in charge of organising stuff in and around COP, what was it, 26? Was it? Or was it 25? That our COP. I can't remember now, but yes, it was, you know, COP 26, I think it was. And he was heavily involved with that. You know, he gets that Britain needs to move to net zero. He gets that transition. So it is honestly one of those things where you're like, why could there not have been, where we've had, like, you know, the net zero scrutiny group, you know, trying to scrutinize all these decisions, you know, of course, led by, you know, Mr. Baker of the ERG as well. He's done all kinds of stuff very recently, of course, promoting net zero. In fact, he has probably been one of the biggest champions of net zero, because he did a massive tour after he was turfed out, of course, by Rishi Sunak. He went on to do a load of talks around the country about net zero. And from what people have said, or the people who've seen those talks, he wasn't, shall we say, overly kind to the government. I'm going to have to see if there's someone somewhere has got to have recorded one of those somewhere. It has to have been recorded. So that will be fun to watch, to be honest. One of those has been recorded somewhere, so I would love to see it. And especially what he said. But if you were on the Labour social last night, you know, I said that the Tories sort of have 4 positions on net zero, and those 4 positions, one is someone like Chris Skidmore, who gets net zero, who understands we need to move towards, you know, net zero. No ifs, ands, or buts. We need to do it. The next position is still very much a pro-net zero position. The only difference is that they want a pro-business way to do net zero. You know, they want... nearly. You know, they want a pro-business stance when it comes to the net zero stuff that, you know, businesses aren't going to, you know, lose out because of their net zero transition. But, you know, in my hometown, we've actually got a net zero transition unit set up by Barnsley Council to help businesses transition over to net zero. Of course, given the government's reversal, it's taken a bit of a hit. Reagan Leak, good morning to you. Paz News, good morning to you as well. Like I say, if you are there, please do remember to click on the like and of course the share button. Gets more people in. Oh, let's see if we can get up this. And then, of course, now we go on to sort of the anti net zero positions the Tories have. So the first one, as we've said, comes from almost the mirror opposite of they might want net zero, but only if it's going to benefit businesses. You'll see a lot of very pro-business Tories talk about, oh, this might not be the best idea. No, back down we go. Oh. So you've got to have a proper run up this hill, or else it ain't gonna happen. Should I try it again? No, I tell you what, screw it, we'll go this way. Let's see if we can get this way. If not, we'll turn around and head back. Oh, I can't believe it. They've got rid of... This is one of the worst things about this. I can't believe they've done this. Oh, and it was a bad idea maybe to head this way. Oh dear. Look for the high ground. There we go. This is what's super annoying, because we could have gone this way. It should have been a much better way. But as you can see, they've blocked it off, which is highly annoying. Let's see if we can find another way. But I don't think there is, unfortunately. We're going to be very much out of luck. Whose idea was it to go that way? It looked like the best way at the time. It looked like the best idea at the time. Over the brook. Oh, can we go. Oh, this is promising. Well, that might be promising. I might be able to sneak under there. Maybe. We'll see. If I don't get caught, that is. Oh. There we go. There we go. We made it. We made it. Hooray. Oh. Oh, tell you what, shall we go see another trick of the triangle? The paths appear and disappear. Waiting for BM to go BOA, base over Apex. Oh, eventually it's going to happen soon. Did I hear geese? Not really. Oh, Billy Crenshaw, good morning to you. Good morning to you, cracking day indeed. But there we go. Which is the best way now? Tell you what, we'll go this way, and then we'll go on another way for a bit more of an adventure. And we'll find out where we end up. Well, this is what the Good Morning Walks are all about. Adventuring through the fields and trees. But anyway, back to where we were. Tory's net zero position. So, quick reminder. First position, the pro net zero position, taken up by, of course, Chris Skidmore. All for net zero transitions. You know, let's go. Ooh rah rah. Net zero ahead. The next one, of course, still very much pro net zero, but they wanted to be sort of more business focused, so that, you know, businesses can benefit from that zero transition. And then, of course, the third one is the mirror opposite of that, where it's like, well, we don't want to go net zero because it might affect business and be bad for British businesses. And then, of course, the final and fourth position is basically the complete and utter anti-net zero opposition. No, we can't do it. Too bad. What a shame. You know, let's keep investing in fossil fuels. I do apologise if I miss anything in the chat here, because this is definitely going to be a very muddy one. So, I'll tell you one story, because it's, again, it's a local story. I can't remember the name of the business, though, I would say. No, in fact, they're a bakery, that's it, they're a bakery, but I can't remember which bakery it is. And they make a lot of deliveries, and one of their big waste was cardboard. And one of the things that the net zero transition unit helped with, and remember, this was helped by government funding, and of course, with a U-turn on net zero funding, this unit does exist, but it's basically gone from, you know, I think it was like an almost 10-man team to now it's like 2 people. And one of their big success stories was helping this bakery. As we said, one of its big uses was cardboard. And through the net zero unit, they managed to help this bakery turn its cardboard output from just a waste problem into one that actually made them money. because then they started selling all their excess cardboard to a recycling plant. So now all that waste cardboard generating them money, and that is aided by them by, of course, being net zero and thinking net zero. So there is a lot of stuff that businesses can do in a transition to net zero, which can, in many cases, earn them money. And that is a good local example I can sort of think of. In our net zero transition. But the other thing I want to get at is, if you remember during the whole HS2 conference scenario, the Tories only have 2 regional city mayors, Ben Houchen and Andy something or other. He's the mayor of the West Midlands city region, and he was really wanting HS2. HS2 was going to be a big thing for the area, for the region, and as we said before numerous times, would have been massively beneficial. However, hang on a sec, squelch through this mud. One of the things he said, that if the government cancelled HS2, he would have resigned. I still think if he had the balls and actually resigned, that would have had a massive impact on Rishi Sunak. That would have had a massive impact. Of course, he threatened to resign, and he didn't. And now he's trying to secure private funding to try and build HS2, but there's no way it's going to happen. As glorious as that would be if he could genuinely secure the private investment, and he is trying to work with Andy Burnham as well to try and secure this private investment, the likelihood of that happening is very, very slim, unfortunately. Maggie Pie, good morning, and thank you very much for the super chat. Cancelling HS2 is like leaving someone at the altar. Oh, yes. Ooh, hang on. Let me just. There we go. Exactly. Yes, very, very, very much so. Very, very much so. And, we'll be talking about the cancelling of the HS2 for decades to come, because it's going to have such a negative impact on the UK. The cancelling of it, it's going to have huge repercussions. I mean, there is literally a train map of where you can see what are like the biggest routes that people use, and the biggest route that people used was Birmingham to London. It needed HS2. It would have been a massive improvement to the rail system. Massive improvement. What's that? White elephant? It was not a white elephant. It was not a white elephant in the least, Billy. After this, go watch my conversation with Gareth Dennis, a rail engineer that we had, coming up to 2 years now. But yeah, he will spell it out for you very much so. If we got HS2, it would be a massive improvement. Massive improvement for the UK and its rail industry. Let me see where we go from here, because now we need to find the way through. think it's this way. What are you telling me? Rishi Sunak sold the magic money tree? Oh yes. Oh yes, he did. You're open to persuasion? Okay, so the main argument for HS2, Billy, is capacity. Capacity is the big problem for the British rail network. And what do we mean by capacity? Well, it's space on the rail network. And the big problem is, what takes up so much of that capacity is the fast trains. We're talking the high-speed rails. So you're talking your city-to-cities trains. So, if you want to improve capacity on the British rail network, what you do, take all those high-speed trains and you put them on a different track. And that track would be HS2. You build that track, and then all of a sudden, on your normal network, not only can you have more slower trains, because currently they are sharing the same track as those high-speed trains, which means that there are now large gaps where you could technically put more trains, but you can't because of the high-speed nature of those trains. Now that they're on their own track, you can have more local stopping services and inter-regional services as well. So that is really the main argument in and around HS2. There are other arguments, of course, that you can use as well, but that is the main one. You build HS2, you improve capacity on the British rail network, and not only do you get more trains for your local and inter-regional services, but you also have a modern high-speed rail network. And if you want examples of how high-speed rail has improved rail networks, look at Japan, look at Germany, and more recently, look at Spain, that spent the past 20 years building a high-speed rail network, and it has massively improved their local rail networks, because they've managed to build that. Oh, number 3, hello. It's still London focused, yes, because most of the traffic for high-speed rail does go to and from London. And even if you do that, that's still going to be the case. You still need, trains running to and from London. But HS1 is, of course, sort of part of the Eurostar. HS2 would have been Birmingham and would serve sort of the north. Also why we need to build the northern leg as well. Hang on. Let me just get over this as well. Where do we go from here? Can we slip through there? Because I know I can get that way. Or do we go that way? Okay, well, let's see if we can slip this way. That's unavoidable. But HS2 would have been a massive improvement for all the transport network infrastructure. Let's see if I can fit through here. I should be able to. Oh, there we go. Oh, perfect. I know where I'm going now. Oh. Yeah, and HS1, actually, when you look at HS1, Rob, HS2 is still going to be has been a massive benefit to that area, having that rail network. Are you walking the proposed line now? No. No, I'm not. Although it would go through Ardsley area of Barnsley if they built the if they built the northern leg of HS2 on over to Sheffield. Again, massive improvement for the area. But it's one of those things of you need to build like HS2. You can't get out of it. If you want to improve the network, go ask any rail engineer. Go have a look at the experts of what they've said. Everything is about capacity. Capacity is the problem. How do you improve capacity? You've got to build HS2. That would have improved the capacity, because you're seeing right now Birmingham North is going to be a massive rail bottleneck in the future that is going to affect basically any northern services up from the north of Birmingham on the west coast for decades, because of that bottle network that is now forming, because, well, again, they haven't built HS2. Yeah, that was a thing Boris Johnson did promise you. Very true on that. Yes, we'll be able to build. There we go. Take this moment to wash my wellies off. It's still good to know that they're waterproof. There we go. There we go. Better. So yeah, you can't, if you want to improve rail network, if you want to improve, people's transport, if you want to improve it, HS2 is the only way. If you want to improve the rail network in the UK, you've got to build HS2. You can't get out of it. And yet, you've got parties like the Green Party who say, yes, we want to improve the rail network, but actually we don't want to build HS2. And you go, why don't you want to build HS2? And no answer comes forth. They'll say, oh, it's just about speed. Having a faster speed isn't worth it. Oh, it's massively worth it. Massively worth it. Especially business people who can travel to and from Birmingham to do that. And being able to travel faster on that particular line, massively worth it. I've even seen some arguments come from the Greens that these trains are just so fast they would fly off the line. Again, that's not true when you've got things like the Shinkansen that regularly break speed records that go on at the exact same speed that, of course, the trains on the UK lines would be travelling at. So, yeah, I don't see trains flying off the line in Japan. There are other ways apart from HS2. Well, it involves building more lines. And then you get still the same problem of, even if you build new lines, you've still got the problem of these fast trains sharing the same track as the slower trains. So it still creates a big capacity problem. Because obviously, train goes past there. Obviously, if you've got a fast train, that means you've got to leave a big gap between that fast train and that slower train. So by taking a fast train off the track, you can put more slower trains there, and that means more regional and local trains. And that would be the perfect thing. And like I say, Mithra, you cannot get out of not building HS2. You just can't get out of it. It's just the fact that we need every single other country building high-speed rail. And why? Because they recognise how much they need high-speed rail to improve their own rail capacity. And it's capacity that is the key issue. Even if you build new lines, new tracks, that's still a big problem. And of course, more capacity for freight as well. So this would again take more lorries off the road, put it onto trains,
And of course, if you are someone who is like pro-green, you should absolutely be for trains. Trains have such a low carbon footprint. Even the building of HS2, the building of itself and the running of it would account to basically 1 year's use of the total carbon footprint that a year's worth running of the motorway would generate. And that's it. That is such a low cost for building something that would have such a massive improvement.
Oh, Christopher, good morning from Canada. And no winter and no rain for the past 6 weeks. Yeah, I've heard about that. That's pretty strange and unusual for Canada, apparently. Blue Badger. I was told before the local networks were all destroyed by the tarmac baron that national trains, of course, were quicker, but it's all volume, slowing the trains down to fit them all in. Yeah, that's the big problem. The smaller lines you have, the lesser capacity you have. And the main argument is about capacity. And that's the big problem. That's why we are seeing at the moment in the liaison committee where Rishi Sunak was asked about this, he's like, all the questions were to him about, okay, well, you've cancelled HS2. How now do we improve capacity without HS2? And he's like, oh, well, we're going to build all these things with, Network North. Meanwhile, of course, what have they done with that Network North money? They've spent it to fix potholes in London. So, swings and roundabouts. Not since freight yards have all been closed down under privatisation. Freight yards would also massively benefit as well. The Greens are talking about saving frogs over building HS2. Yeah, and yet one of their big platform pledges has always been, oh yeah, we want to invest in Britain's railways. But one of your biggest investments in British railways is going to be HS2. And if you want to look at how badly pro-HS2 Greens have been treated, look up what happened during the Green Party conference to Greens for HS2, a internal pressure group trying to get the Greens on board for building HS2. Both freight yards, well, this is it, you've got to build new freight yards, which again would create more jobs in those areas with the freight yards themselves. We were once a train-based economy at one time, long years ago. Why not be so again?
I bet Sunak actually believes Northland is just the north. Probably. Oh dear. This might get anything quite interesting. We'll see. Could be an interesting get back now. But yeah, 2024 honestly is going to be an interesting year. 2024 is going to be a very interesting year. And by the way, to those of you who haven't seen it, I do really recommend checking out my conversation I had with Gareth Dennis. And I keep on saying this, and I've really got to go and do it, but I really would love to have another chat with him at some point soon. So I've got to reach out to him and have another chat with him at some point soon. So I think having another talk with him, of course, in light of this would be, I think, would be quite illuminating, and of course, I think really state the case for the current state of British rail. You can get politicians going outside. Yeah, well, just look what happened to Rishi Sunak recently. Booed in Stockport, but that wasn't honestly a surprise. Really was not a surprise. Oh, Pony, why are you blocking the way? Why, Pony, why? I think this is the big problem. You've got a pony in the way. You've got to shift him out of the way. Come on, boy. Come on. Gotta let me through. Gotta let me through. Thank you. We're through. Thank you very much, boy. That was a lot easier than I was expecting. But the other thing as well, we should be looking at as well, tram networks. Tram networks would be massively helpful to so many cities, up and down. Leeds, crying out for a tram network, generally. That would help improve public transport so much. You've got Sheffield currently with its super tram. They should go back and build the full super tram on that. Good morning, just been catching up with the rest of politics with Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart. Yeah, that's something else I would recommend as well. It's honestly such a good podcast. And Alistair Campbell is someone who I would absolutely love to have a chat with. I think that should be so fun. I genuinely would think it would be so fun to have a chat with. True, yeah, as I said, there was going to be a tram from Manchester to the airport. There already is one. Yeah, again, that's the Northern Network suggestions for you. Oh. But tram networks, honestly, would be a massive boon to the UK and something that, Labour should look at doing and building for the North. Finishing off Sheffield Super Tram so that its network has its full capacity that they were originally going to build and then decided not to build because it was coming in over budget and taking longer to build than expected, and people were getting annoyed by all the disruption in the town centre that building the super tram was causing. And of course now people love the super tram. Super tram is actually really profitable. So yeah, building out super tram to more of the popular areas of Sheffield would be a massive boon to sort of Sheffield, and then to places like Leeds. Having a tram network in Leeds would be massively beneficial to it. There's so many places that would benefit from having a tram network as well, which again, it would improve massively public transport. Rob, yeah, thankfully the trams are running when nothing else is running. Bruno, yes, the super tram also goes into Rotherham a bit. Well, again, that's the upgrade that they've done recently, allowing the tram to use the rails. But the thing is, that takes up capacity. So they should do again what they were going to do originally and build a proper track into Rotherham for super tram. That would be a lot better so for the network. Anyway, so thank you once again. Hugh, nice there. Temperatures are dropping like a stone. Scandinavia freeze is coming our way. See how bad it gets. Barnsley definitely sub-zero in daytime temperatures by Monday. I'll look forward to that then. Hugh. It's going to be cold. Best to wrap up warm. Mithril, when I go to Manchester, I drive to Bury, then take the tram in £5 a day to travel anywhere. Yeah, again, tram networks are very, very good. Something that we should be doing. Yeah, if you live near the tram, you use the tram, not stuck with the decaying bus service. Exactly, and that's something else that does need to be, looked at. Integrated travel. When it comes to public transport, it really is, train, trams, and buses that really need to be improved, drastically need to be improved. Because, like I say, trams should focus on going to the more popular areas and getting people to sort of in and out and where they need to go, and then buses sort of need to sort of flow out from that. Like I say, proper thought about integrated travel and how these all systems interconnect really should be thought about, because when you go to Europe, it's all there. It's all there. It all works, and every single time I've gone to Europe, I just come away with public transport jealousy. Where are the floods in the news? Because I'm not seeing it in my part of Yorkshire. By the looks of it, Nottingham has been very badly hit from what I've heard. So that's where the floods seem to be hitting at the moment, in Nottingham. Admiral Pegasus, good morning to you. Biggest problem for the tram is idiot car drivers. Yep. Duke Vengeance, good morning to you. Yeah, exactly, Rob. But sometimes in the tram, especially when the tram, whole point of this tram is to get into the city centre. Sometimes you can't avoid going on the roads, unfortunately. Bruno, you're right. Spain even managed to put trams in Tenerife. I was there for Christmas. Exactly. They can do this in Europe, and they've proven time and time again, if you invest in good public transport, guess what? It works. It works really, really well. And people love it. And it massively helps your economy as well. They used to help people find work, but with the rule changes, they can't anymore. Yeah. Like I say, I don't know what the statistic is, but I know for South Yorkshire, 1 in 5 people turn down a job because they can't actually get there. Before the Scandinavian freeze hits, get winter tyres. I'll look into it. Traffic lights are always for the tram. Christine Clues, integrated traffic planner here from Denmark. Buses rule. Sorry, trams are just buses that can't change routes. Yes, that is the point of a tram, I suppose. But no, you are right. It's having big sort of integrated travel networks. It's not just trains, it's buses, it's trams. That really need to be looked at, something we really need to do. But as always, thank you very much, of course, for joining me. We are at the end of today's Good Morning Walk, as always. But of course, thank you very much for joining me, as always, today on today's Good Morning Walk. Thank you very much for joining me, and of course, we'll see you next time on next Saturday for tomorrow's morning walk. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button if you are new here. Hit the like button on your way out. Remember to leave a comment down below. What do you think to my HS2? HS2 talks. But as always, my HS2 proselytizing, shall we say. As always, thank you very much for joining me on today's Good Morning Walk. And of course, we'll see you all next time. And of course, thank you very much for joining us. And until then, we'll see you all very soon.